Hello there. Today I'm going to teach you guys how to do a linear color wheel. So obviously when we normally do a color wheel, it's going to be in a circle. Try to get the glare off there. Where it just kind of flows from one color into the next. And I will actually have a picture of this where maybe there isn't such a glare on it like there is now. I'll have a picture of this already uploaded for you guys so you can see the different parts of the color wheel. The most important parts that we're going to focus on today are the primary colors, secondary colors, and how they create the intermediate, or what we call the tertiary colors. This also has another side to it. This may be less of a glare, where it actually shows them next to each other on the color wheel instead of in a separate side form. So what we're going to do, you can start anywhere on the color wheel that you want, but the trick is that you have to have the colors in the correct order. So that's really what we're going to focus on today. If you don't have watercolors, that's fine. I know not everybody has watercolors. Maybe you can find, if you have a good box of crayons, you should have all of these colors with these colors listed in your crayon box. Markers would probably not work because markers don't blend quite like we want them to. But if you don't have crayons and you don't have colored pencil, or I'm sorry, if you don't have crayons and you don't have paint, colored pencils will work because you can actually blend the red and the orange to get the red orange. You can blend the orange and the yellow to get the yellow orange. You can actually blend them to create those. So use what you have and don't stress over it. So here are the examples. Again, instead of being in a circle form, we're going to create one in a linear way with an interesting background. So here's another example. It doesn't have to just be a zigzag line. It could possibly be some line with a curve. You want there to be some kind of movement across your paper, though, whether it's more of a rigid movement, like what we have here with the zigzag, or if it's more of like a fluid movement with this curved line. It's up to you. So the first step, and I have these small papers. This is, I believe this is 6 by 9. So mine isn't very big at all. You are just going to work with whatever kind of paper you have. That's kind of where we are, guys. So I think today I am going to make another curved line. And notice how I really added some curve to it. You're going to want enough movement. You don't want to keep it, pretty straight across. That's going to make it harder for you when you go to do the colors. You want some length here in your line if you want to be able to fit all of the colors in here. So here's my line. And now I know this is where I'm going to create the color wheel. Whew, guys, can't think today. So again, it doesn't matter where you start on your color wheel. You're just going to pick a color and start there. Just for the sake of making things easy for you guys, I may just go ahead and start here with red. Okay, I know typically when we think of a rainbow, a lot of people think of red. So now I have to decide, am I going to make my line go to the left and go from red into red, violet, violet, blue, and so on? Or am I going to go to the right? Am I going to take my red into red, orange, orange, yellow, and so on? Either way is fine. It's totally up to you. Just for the sake of making this easy, I think I might go ahead and go kind of like I'm reading a book, and I might go this direction. So I'm going to start with the red paint. And I'm going to try to paint right inside this line. And the trick is, when I go to do the red-orange, I want it to still be wet. So now I'm going to get my orange in here. And I'm going to kind of overlap these two colors a little bit. And now I'm going to go into orange. So hopefully there's not a big glare on here. Hopefully you guys can see the difference in some of these colors, the red into red, orange into orange, because you want there to be a nice kind of gradual change from one color to the next. You don't want it to be abrupt, like stripes. You want them to kind of flow into each other. So here we're going into what would be considered yellow-orange. So once again, we have red, like our red. We have red-orange. We have orange. And then down here we have yellow-orange. So next, I know it's hard to see all of this, next would be yellow, and then yellow, green, and green. I'm just kind of following along. So now I just want plain yellow. And again, once I get my plain yellow, I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit so that I can paint over this part and get my yellow green in there. Now, if it gets a little too dark, if that looks a little too striped and a little too much like yellow, you can always go over it with the other color. So, or sorry, if it looks too much like green, you can always go over it with the opposite color. In this case, that would be yellow. So now yellow, yellow, green. Now we're going into green. Again, we're following this circle down here. We're following it all the way through. So, oh, I'll just put that on top. I guess mine's going to be a little messy. I'll have to be creative there when I come to figuring out the background. So, I've got red, red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, yellow, green, green. So naturally blue, green is the next step. So take my green a little bit farther. Maybe up in here even. Kind of a weird peak right there. And then I'm going to mix some blue in there. So a lot of people would call this turquoise or teal, and you can absolutely call it that as long as you're not referring to the color wheel. When we talk about the color wheel, which is what we're making, this is going to be blue-green. You always say the primary color first. So blue is the primary color, so we would say blue before we say green. Red, orange, because red is the primary color there. We would say yellow, orange, or yellow, green, because yellow is the primary color there. So that's kind of the rule of thumb with that. Here's some blue. It's kind of a pretty blue, not your traditional blue. So after blue, green, blue, comes a color called blue violet. This is the darkest color on our color wheel. I'm a little cramped over here for space, but I'm trying to make it work. And we're going to have violet. So I missed one color. I'm going to see if I can get it here at the end, which is red violet. So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of red in here and mix that red with the violet. Get a nice pretty red violet. I got a little carried away over here with my green, so you can tell that's my favorite color. So once again, I have all of these colors. I'm going to move my paint palette out of the way so you guys can see what I did here. I got this on top, so it's a little messy. Sorry about that. But I have red, red-orange, orange, yellow-orange, yellow, yellow-green, green, blue-green, blue, blue-violet, violet, and a little bit of red violet right here at the end. So you can start again anywhere on this circle that you want, on the color wheel that you want. I just started with red just to kind of make it easy. So we're going to pretend like this is dry, and lucky for you, I have an example from last week's class. Mrs. Twinter's class was in here last week. So this is what happens once it's all the way dry. And you can tell I started in a different place here, but this is what I came up with. You are going to take, now I took a Sharpie because, whoops, because that's what I have. I have a Sharpie. And I outlined it all the way around the top and all the way around the bottom. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to start with some kind of really interesting background. So here's another example that I did. You can tell I haven't outlined it quite yet, but I would try really hard to stay right here on this line where the edge of my color wheel meets the white of the paper. And then on this example, what I did was I just started making triangles with pencil, of course, and then I just started coloring in nice and neat where those triangles are. You don't have to use triangles, obviously. You could use any other kind of geometric shape, which are shapes with names. So circles, ovals, squares, rectangles, anything that you want. On this one, I'll bring this example back in here. On this one, my thought was I have such kind of a fluid moving line that I wanted more of a rigid background. So on this one, I made sort of this checkerboard pattern. And what I did is I took a ruler and I just measured, this is such a dark ruler, it's hard to see, but I measured 1 inch increments. So every time it says 1 inch, that's what I would put a little tick mark, and I made a pattern going both directions on every single side, and I made the pattern, the checkerboard pattern. This one I did the exact opposite. I had a very rigid, kind of jagged line, so I wanted my background to be kind of fluid and a little bit softer. So what I did instead is I just took a pencil and I sort of made these curved lines, and I curved this one this direction, and then I would do the other one the opposite direction. So I can kind of show you here what I did. So I would curve it, and there was no measuring. This was just kind of fun. So I curved this way, so the next one's going to curve the opposite way. Kind of gives it this underwater look, I guess, maybe. Maybe, who knows. So I don't want to draw through my line, so I just kind of pick up where I think it might end on the other side. Just like so. And then I did the exact same thing, if you turn it, but this time I just kind of made them wavy. I just kind of made a slightly curved line going from, you know, side to side or top to bottom, depending on how your paper's. So this is a smaller paper than what I had in my bigger examples. So, and then I just did a checkerboard pattern when I colored these in with my black marker. And I obviously used a Sharpie, but we are using, once again, whatever you have at home to add color. So I would start either at the top or the bottom. And for me, I would almost, if I were giving you guys advice, I would go through every other one and dot it with your marker or your crayon or colored pencil, whatever it is that you have, so you don't mess up. So I would do white, black, white, black, white, black. And now you know you want to do the opposite in the next row. So if this one right here is white, then I know this one needs to be black. So I would do a black dot. And that means all of these spaces right here, this is basically one block, even though you can't see all of them. This would be white, so I know this one's black. This would be white, so I know this section is going to be black. And I know this rest of it is on the other side. This section will be black over here, which would make this one white. So you just kind of go through and do the opposite so that you don't have any white squares touching white squares or black squares touching black squares. You've got it nice and balanced like a checkerboard. So I will have this finished example. You will have already seen it in the video posted, but I wanted to show you just how I got started and how I created this. So good luck I hope you guys come up with something really great. I can't wait to see it.